Please bring your Class 1 OPBs to the show ring. Class 1 OPBs to the show ring. We need your white OPBs, Class 1 to the wash rack. Class 1 white OPBs to the wash rack.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 2024 Eddy County Fair Swine Show. I'd like to introduce you tonight to our judge, Scott Smith. He's from Torino, Texas. He's married to Anissa and has one child, Erica, and one grandchild, Amelia. He has judged shows on all levels of competition in 21 different states at over the past 25 years. He's a former ag science teacher and currently purchasing manager for Butterball Turkeys. He helps kiddos with livestock projects where they have won several different things and has seen success at all levels, including the Grand Barrel at the 2023 San Antonio Stock Show and Rodeo, along with numerous breed and reserve breed champions at Texas Majors and other national shows. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Scott Smith.
Sis. Well, good evening. It's certainly an honor and privilege to be back here in Eddy County this evening to sort through your swine show. More important, to work with your young people. And, you never know when you get asked back for a second year in a row where you're so bad that they had to let you come back and give you another chance to sort them, or did they think you do a decent job? And, you have to wonder about that. And I hope it was the first or not the first and was the latter, that I didn't do so bad last year, that we just get to see if we can struggle through it again this year. So looking forward to a great evening of sorting stock. And guys, the first class, I will tell you, it is definitely way deeper water than what it was in the first class of dark OPBs last year. And we've got 4 individuals, and take nothing away from the ones in 5 through 9 that come out and sort themselves to the top. There is one out here that I think has to win, and wins very handily. That's the young lady here to my right with a spotted bear. Guys, I'm pretty sure Helen Keller could find that one. That is the one that is the biggest caged. He's the biggest and boldest in his blade. He's the squarest there in his sternum and his breastplate. When he turns and burns, that one leaves you as more genuine pinwhit. He's bigger up high. He's bigger down low. He picks them up and puts them down like he's supposed to. He is the most athletic one out here. Maybe peel a little bit of bark off of him. I think that's an awfully good spot bear. And for all you young guys that like to use the word shag, that one's got it. He's got the extra hair. He's got the look that we all like. I think that's a very logical place to start here. One that comes in too for me is one that wants to tie up as the drive wears on. That's the young lady there in the blue and white striped shirt. Be honest with you, that thing's a lot like a Chinese phone book. He's got a couple of extra chins there. But I think once you peel the bark down off that one, that's a very good bear. That thing's big up high. He's robust in his cage. He's not as heavy structured. He's not as big footed as that spot bear that goes ahead and wins. The young lady here in the pink with the other Berkshire bear is going to be 3rd in this particular class. If I can take that one and just peel some bark off of that one, I think that one can certainly move up, because that guy's short backed, he's big caged, he's tall shouldered, he's heavy structured. He's just carrying a notch extra for me today. Clean him up there in his underline ever so slightly. Very, very good bear to be 3rd. Maybe the breeding gilt of the class is the one that comes in 4. A spot gilt that's bigger in her outline, but one that's still great looking from the side. She's a tall shouldered, really athletic one that's got a bendy hind leg. Maybe not as rugged in her skeleton. Maybe just peeled down just a notch much for me today. Let that one flesh up and think she moves up. Young lady does a nice job of showing that one as well. Young lady that comes out next with another Berkshire bear. One that just gets a little rounder off both ends of his skeleton for me. A little flatter, patterned off all 4 corners. Maybe a rib longer body, doesn't balance up. His length to height ratio not as good. He wants to narrow, be a notch more concave right in his chest when he drives right at us. Berkshire bear that comes next is at the other end of the spectrum. One that gets too wide off both ends of his skeleton for me. Bring that guy back inside himself. Maybe give him just a notch more flesh. He's just a notch harsh there in his center body. As we round out in the next 3, just some hogs that are greener in their muscle makeup, not as sound off either end of their skeleton. Ask if you will one time, put your hands together for these kiddos here in our dark OPB class.
Your champion OPB went to Ashton Tarvin from Loving FFA. Your reserve went to Kaylee King from Loving FFA. 3rd went to Swayze Fulmar, Artesia FFA. 4th went to Morgan Townsend, Artesia FFA. 5th went to Presley Gaines, Cottonwood 4-H. 6th went to Grayson Kirkendall, Cottonwood 4-H. 7th went to Chance Bowens, Artesia FFA. 8th went to Luke Jerbuck, Country Clovers, and 9th went to Jonah Pope, Country Clovers. We need your Class 2 white OPBs to the wash rack. Class 2 white OPBs to the wash rack.
Nice class of white OPBs, and we kind of throw them all in together, you know, and I guess like they say, black, white, Hispanic, small, large, gigantic, it really doesn't matter. Just find the good ones. At Chester's the best one. He's going to win this particular class. Guys, when you get up on top of that one's shape out of the backside of his blade, his ability to take his hock and push it back behind his tail root and just float across the ring. You know, I guess I grew up and we watched that show Major League with Charlie Sheen and old Willie Mays Hayes, you know, and run like a butterfly and or sting like a bee or float like a butterfly, whatever you want to say about that one. There's lots of adjectives that can go and describe a Chester Bear. It's just a very logical place to start for me. From there, it gets just a little tricky. I like the young lady here in the pink to be too, just in terms of flexibility, foot placement, toe size, correctness to his skeleton. I like that one better than the one that's going to be in 3. A tall-shouldered bear that's very athletic off both ends of his skeleton. He doesn't offer as much center punch as the one that's going to come in 3. He doesn't offer as much a bone or foot as the one that's going to come in 3, but I do think he's more correct off both ends of his skeleton. Young lady that comes in 3 with one that's an absolute Mack truck when he drives at us. No, we've got that thing just a notch full. He wants to step too wide from behind. I think his biggest issue is just in the length of his upper hip. It gets too short right there for me, and it causes him to want to step outside of his skeletal wall. That is a big cage one. It is big bladed. It's got lots of shape up high. It's still clean about his crest. Bring that one back inside himself, fix his front feet ever so slightly. That one can certainly move up a spot or 2 and push that class 1. The one that comes next gets a notch rounder, a notch frailer off both ends of its skeleton, but a very nice animal for that young man to go ahead and be next. As we turn the next one out, another one that just gets a notch rounder, gets a notch harsher through her center body for me today. Just doesn't balance up as good from the side. Her entire motion's up under her hip. Just needs to take her hock and just flex it just a notch better. The young man that rounds out the class with a really stout Chester Bear that's got some hair, that's got some bone, got some look, just a notch greener in his muscle makeup today, maybe not just as soft and pliable there in his center cavity as those that place above him. Young man does a nice job of showing. Ask you if you will one time, put your hands together for our kiddos here in our white OPB class.
First place went to Mason Golden, Artesia FFA. Second went to Dagan Kirkendall, Cottonwood 4-H. Third went to Clancy Fulmar, Cottonwood 4-H. Fourth went to Alfie Olivas, Loving 4-H. Fifth went to Alyssa Calderon, Loving 4-H. And sixth went to Ryan Wood, Carlsbad FFA. Please bring your first and second place white OPBs back to the wash rack. Your first and second place white OPBs back to the wash rack. And we also need your Class 1 Durox to the wash rack. Class 1 Durox to the wash rack.
Another real nice class of light OPBs, maybe a little different sort here, but probably as deep a water as what we've been in so far tonight. And I think we've got 3 individuals on the top end of this class that are very, very good. Even with that said, I do think there's one that just pushes the other 2 and maybe combines some things that the other 2 lack. And that's the young lady here in front of me. She's driving your class winner. That's the one that's the boldest in his blade shape. He's the best in his chest floor. That one's got a bigger arm and a bigger hind leg. And when you step in behind him, that thing gets square pinned. He's square from hock to ground. He picks his feet up and puts them back down in the same spot every time. You know, in a perfect world, maybe make that one just a little looser constructed out of his hip, but I still think that's a very, very good animal. Maybe make him just a notch bigger there about his front ankle, but a very good animal to go ahead and be in this driver's seat in this particular class. I like the young man's Chester Bear to be too. I think he most follows the type and kind of the Yorkshire Bear that wins. A tall-shouldered one, maybe one that's just not as robust in his cage, is not as busted open there through his chest. I love that thing's hip and hind leg and his ability to use his hock just to push and pull and be athletic across our show surface today. That's a tall-shouldered, really elevated, really elegant-looking one from the side. You like that one, skull shape and his jawline there as well. Maybe clean him up in his poll, but I think if you clip that down tighter, probably makes that one look even better. Really nice Chester Bear to be in 2. Young lady here that comes in 3 with a Yorkshire Bear that just pushes the envelope too much for me. It gets a little shorter, steeper, rounder there out of his hip, wants to step outside of his body cavity there when he turns and burns and goes directly away from you. Guys, you talk about one that is absolutely Chewbacca-legged. That thing has legs and just they're absolutely ginormous. Hey, and if that's the way you want to sort him, that's fine. You know, I'd like to just smooth him up around his ham loin. He wants just to get a notch dry. He wants to knee in ever so slightly when it comes at us. Clean him up in his throat latch, because if you do those things, that is a very, very good Yorkshire Bear to be standing in 3. The one that comes out next just gets a notch flatter for me. One that's too upright in his hock. He just doesn't utilize it right today. Just needs to go better off both ends of his skeleton. Chester Gilt that comes next. One that if you want to just butt cut him, then Big Booty Judy is probably the one that you like. And hey, that thing has muscle and she's got style. She gets too round for me. She gets too timid there about her step when she steps and goes away from you. Young lady that rounds out the class with a Yorkshire Gilt. One that just gets a little plainer to look at, maybe a notch green, or Yorkshire Bear, excuse me. One that gets a little plainer to look at, maybe a notch greener in his muscle pattern, not as robust in his cage. Young lady does a nice job showing them things. I'll give these kiddos a big round of applause, if you would, here in our second class of light OPB.
First place went to Kaylee King, Loving FFA. Second went to Owen Golden, Cottonwood 4-H, tag 91886. Third place went to Presley Gaines, Cottonwood 4-H. Fourth went to Addison Tarvin, Loving FFA. Fifth went to Owen Golden, tag 91091. And sixth went to Mia Duran, Cottonwood 4-H.
really good set of light OPBs here, and our quality it was very deep in both of those classes, and I think we get our class winners and our 2 second places back out here, and they represent what market hogs ought to look like. Guys, I'm not one to just pound them out and say, hey, the biggest one always has to win, but I do think when you get out here that it's very close between our heavyweight and our lightweight. I do think there's one that's just more ready today. I think he gets out here and he just overwhelms the class in terms of just density, in terms of foot and bone size, in terms of cage, in terms of just turn to the top of his cage. I'm not going to tell you he's rolled up maybe as much as another one. That thing is square hocked and square pinned. I think a very, very good one. Young ladies heavyweight's going to be your champion. I thought it was awfully close between him and the one that wins the lightweight class, and take nothing away from the Chester Bear that was second in that in the heavyweight class. Thought that lightweight when he came in was the man among boys, especially in that class. You get him back out here and he just doesn't. He's just not as busted open. He's not as stout as what that Yorkshire Bear actually is. This thing is rolled up. He's got shape for days. He's good looking from a side. Young man can flat drive the wheels off of one. I think that's the second best one. He's going to be your reserve.
Your champion white OPB went to Kaylee King out of Class 2, and your reserve white OPB went to Mason Golden out of Class 1. Please bring your Class 1 Durocs to the show ring. Class 1 Durocs to the show ring. We need your Class 2 Durox to the wash rack, Class 2 Durox to the wash rack.
Real nice class of red ones here to start our Duroc division. Young man here in front of me is driving your class winner. Guys, that one's just assembled better from the side for me. Its toe quality and foot placement is better. That's a tall-shouldered, good-looking one. It's got the right skull shape. When you get on top of that one's working a big back. It's got a big square pin set, real square-hipped and square-hocked as he turns and goes away from you. Like a lot of things about that one, I think just a very logical place to start here in this first class. Young man is going to be in two. Once again, like we said about a gilt a minute ago, if you just want to butt cut them, that's probably the one that's for you. Young man, she just gets a little round for me off both ends of her skeleton. Want to take that one, extend her up in front of her blade, maybe relax her blade ever so slightly, just make her just a notch softer there, maybe smooth her up there in her hemloin junction. Same can be said about the bear that's going to come in forward. Want to have that kind of a mass from behind. He needs to be more robust in his cage. He gets a little flatter sided. He's a little lower at the point of his shoulder. He gets out in front of himself in terms of his forearm and his knee placement. He just needs to relax there in his shoulder. That is, he's really, elevated there about his neck and his head carriage, but his shoulder placement's still low. Bring that one back inside his skeletal wall when he turns and goes away from you. As we come out next with a longer-sided bear, a young lady does a nice job of driving one that just gets a notch frailer off both ends of his skeleton for me. Gets too flat there in his upper cage. Just need more to that one to move him up. Maybe fix that one on his front pasterns. The young lady that comes out next with a gilt that just gets a little plainer for me today. Too harsh in her center body. Give that one more shape, more turn to her cage. Make that one heavier structured. Talk to the two young people that are going to come out next, the next two places. Kind of told them what we changed about their animals there. Both of those young men do a very good job of showing them. If you would, put your hands together for our kiddos here in our first class of Durocs.
First place went to Mason Golden, Artesia FFA. Second went to J.D. King, Loving FFA. Third went to Grayson Kirkendall, Cottonwood 4-H. Fourth went to Ariana Carrasco, Loving FFA. Fifth went to Albert Calderon, Loving 4-H. Sixth went to Albert Calderon, tag 07387. And seventh went to Jonah Pope, Country Clovers 4-H. Please bring your Class 3 Durocs to the wash rack. Class 3 Durocs to the wash rack.
Maybe a class of red ones that doesn't piece together quite as easy as some of the other classes. There is one clear-cut winner, and that's the young man here in the green shirt, and that one has to win this particular drive. Not going to stand here and try to tell you that one's perfect, because he's not. He is the tallest shouldered. He is the most robust in his cage. He is the most structurally correct one out here. Maybe it's just a notch flat there on those front two. I think it's a very logical, very easy place to start for me in this particular Duroc class. And then where you go from there, guys, you just got to get your priorities in line and decide what you want to do. You know, feet and legs are always very important, because I've seen a lot of things that you can buy in a feed bucket, but structure is not one of them. I like the young lady there in the black coat to go ahead and be second in this particular class. With that said, guys, I won't tell you he's the most busted open one when he turns and leaves you. He's square chested, his sternum's square, he's got a big back in him. He balances up better from the side than the one that's going to be in 3. He's longer and leveler hip than the one that's going to be in 3 as well. Very nice bear to be there in 2. When it comes in 3, you know, if you like to say about some other hogs earlier in the day, you know, if you just want to cut them out muscle-wise, this one has to win. This guy gets too upright in his shoulder for me. He's too short, too steep, too round out of his hip. He doesn't take his hock and just flex it back behind his hip. That thing has got lots of muscle. He's got a big cage in him. Young man can flat get him shown. Does a dynamite job there to be in 3rd. When it comes in 4, when this one hits the rings, you like a lot of things about him. Guys, this thing just starts to paddle out of his front end. He's too upright in his skeleton there and his shoulder and his knee placement. He needs to relax. Just sits too upright there in his shoulder placement. He's too far forward in his forearm and his knee and just gets the paddle out of his front end. Like I say, that thing has got a big cage. He's neat looking from the side. Maybe clean him up through his jowl and through his cheek there. As we come out with the next one, just a bear that gets a little taller and plainer for me, not as rugged in his skeleton, not as much muscle shape up high, gets a little flatter. Young lady does a good job of showing that one. So we round out the class, just some hogs that are a little longer bodied, not as much physical feel, not as much true rib shape or as much muscle today in those two hogs. Young ladies do a really good job of presenting them. Ask you if you will, put your hands together here for our kiddos in class 2 of our Durocs.
First place went to Stetson Quintanilla, Loving 4-H. Second went to Addison Tarvin, Loving FFA. Third went to JT King, Country Clovers 4-H. Fourth went to Presley Gaines, Cottonwood 4-H. Fifth went to Cheyenne Quintanilla, Loving 4-H. Sixth went to Jacelyn Lopez, Zia Sharpshooters. Seventh went to Alyssa Calderon, Loving 4-H. Eighth went to Jeremiah West, Loving 4-H. Please bring your first and second place Durocs to the wash rack. Your first and second place Durocs to the wash rack.
good set of red ones as we finish up, and some hogs that are starting to show some age. But the one out here that is the freshest, is the most youthful in her appearance. She balances up better from the side. She picks them up and puts them down. Young man there in the blue shirts driving your class winner. I think a very easy place to start for me. The gilt that comes into, she's starting to show her age. I don't know. She may have been alive when Moses was a teenager. One that just looks a little more mature about her head and her neck there and her skull, especially just not as fresh in her center body. Chine wants to get up in her ever so slightly. That is a big-legged one. That's tall-fronted. That's got some product in her. She needs to be just softer through her center body when she turns and goes. Just a better muscle pattern to that one to move up. The bear that comes in 3 is fresh back. He's 2 upright there in his shoulder placement. He is big-chested. He is tall-shouldered. He's stout-skulled. Young lady gets the most out of that one. Just needs to be more athletic off both ends of his skeleton to move up in this particular class. Told this young lady coming out next, just want to freshen this gilt up. She's just not fresh enough in her center body. One that wants to gather herself at her knee when she drives right at us. One that's a little plainer in her muscle pattern. Her chine bone wants to rise up in her. Maybe make that one a notch bigger legged, a bigger footed to go with the mass that she does have. The one that comes out next told this young man, this thing kind of reminds me of Forrest Gump. She can just run and run and run. She is athletic. She's a little flatter on all 4 pasterns. She needs to be heavier structured. She gets a little flatter and plainer there in her muscle to be in a market hog setting. The hogs that round out the class talked to those 2 young people, told them what we'd changed. Ask you, if you will, put your hands together for all of our kiddos here in our last class of red ones.
First place went to Ryan Davis, Loving 4-H. Second went to Morgan Townsend, Artesia FFA. Third went to Addison Fulmar, Artesia FFA. Fourth went to Mia Duran, Cottonwood 4-H. Fifth went to Chance Bowens, Artesia FFA. Sixth went to Garrett Wages, Loving 4-H. Seventh went to Abby Nichols, Blue Jeans and Boots. Look at our 3 class winners back out here in our champion red drive. And guys, the red ones have been good. And I do think there's 3 class winners that just exude quality out here, that scream quality to us as far as what our red ones need to look at. They're different in type and kind. I've never been a guy that tries to go out and cookie cutter them. So far today, I don't think we've seen 2 hogs that look alike. Good livestock comes in different shapes and sizes. As long as they're sound and they're put together, they're comfortable in their skeleton. They've got some look from the side. And they've got, and then you take and you put the extras on them. You've got the added bone work or footwork. You've got the added muscle, as long as it's got the right shape to it. You've got the extra, the width of center. When you take hogs that just balance up and proportion from the side, that their length to height ratio is right. I do think there's one out here that just sorts herself to the top very easy in this Duroc drive. They always ask me, when I go to judge, how big do you have to be to win under you? You're big enough to weigh, you're big enough to play. Young man's got your champion Duroc. We dropped that one that was second in and talked about that was a very deep class there in that first in the lightweight class. Talked about this one in class, how she was just a notch rounder off both ends of her skeleton. Got a little more jammed up from end to end. Not as attractive about her head and neck as what the Barry is. That's our champion, but I do think that's a very, very good red gilt. There's another pair out here that we talked about in class, the Barry that wins class 2, the one that just, once again, proportions up. Maybe he needs to drop his rear flank, just needs a big drink of water today just to look
look more proportional from the side. Looks a little hollow there in his flank, but I think a very, very good one. The big red gelding that wins the last class is one that from the side, you don't draw him a whole lot better. That's a tall shouldered one that gets out. It's got look to, the guy has looked from the side that's good centered. You know, once again, is she just as robust in her cage as what that Barry is? No, she's not, but she's put together extremely good. So that's the differences that I see in him. The one that hits me the second best, even though he needs a big drink of water at middleweight, your reserve champion.
Your champion Duroc went to Mason Golden out of Class 1, and your reserve Duroc went to Stetson Quintanilla out of Class 2. Please bring your Class 1 Hampshires to the show ring. Class 1 Hampshires to the show ring. Class 2 Hampshires to the wash rack. Class 2 Hampshires to the wash rack.
We get started here in our Hampshire division. I think we've got 3 individuals out here that are good. The one that wins reminds me of my sister in the dead of winter. Big ankles, hairy, and a big mug. That's that young lady right there in the center of the ring. I think that one's awfully, awfully good. Young lady does a nice job of driving that one. Young lady that's going to be 2, number 124 over there. From her hip forward, I like a lot of things about that one. I got to elongate her hip. I got to bring her back inside herself and allow that thing to flex and push and pull off of her rear too better. That is a big rib cage, a big forearm, and a big back, and a little bitty Hampshire gilt. Young lady does a dynamite job of driving that one as well. Put your hands together, young lady. Nice second place hog. One that comes in 3, I like a lot of things about. I like that one's extra extension in front of her blade. I love the shape of that one's arm and her shoulder blade. She gets too coarse jointed there for me when she turns and goes directly away from me. She's too harsh right in her center body. I like the added structure. I like the added look that thing's got, though. Young man does a nice job of showing that one. So we come out with a belted gilt that's next. The young lady does a dynamite job of showing maybe one that's just not as fresh in her hair and skin presentation today, and that kind of takes away from her. One that gets a little shorter and rounder. They're out of her hip, needs a big drink of water, maybe push that one forward in her shoulder ever so slightly just to make her more comfortable there out of her front end. One that comes next, I like a lot of things about this 5th place hog this young man drives. Guys, this is kind of a meat and potatoes type of hog. Doesn't just wow you anywhere, just kind of a no frills type deal there. And maybe freshen that one up in his hair coat where he's not clipped down so tight, but one that needs some more feature, but just got a killer look from the side. I love that one's skull shape, his width between his eyes, the width of his snout. I think that's a very, very good pig that young man has that comes in 5. The ones that come in 6 and 7, I talked to these 2 young people, told them what we changed about their animals today. Ask you, if you will, one more time, put your hands together for our kiddos here in our first class of our Hampshire division.
First place went to Jules Cortese, Artesia FFA. Second went to Clancy Fulmar, Cottonwood 4-H. Third went to Alfie Olivas, Loving 4-H. Fourth went to Alfie Olivas, 91068. Fifth went to Jonathan Lopez, Country Clovers. Sixth went to Trevor Pope, Country Clovers. And 7th went to Jalen Caldwell, Loving 4-H. Please bring your Class 2 Hampshires to the show ring. Class 2 Hampshires to the show ring. Class 2 Hampshires to the wash rack. Class 2 Hampshires to the wash rack.
Testing. All right, fire them back up. I think we've got a real good pair here. They went to get some more batteries, but a real good pair of hogs, and more importantly, a real good pair of showmen. These girls can flat get it done at a very, very high level, and two hogs that are fit and ready to go and look the part to me. So that's they're to be commended for that, guys. Presentation of these things happens in the days and the weeks leading up to this, and it just doesn't, they don't just walk in this ring and show them like this without practicing it at home, and they don't get dark-hided like that without some sunshine or some tanning lamps or something along that line. So these things are presented to the utmost, and these young ladies do a nice job. With that said, I like the young lady here in front of me to go ahead and be your class winner. That bear is taller shouldered. He's denser made than the one that's going to come in two. He's better looking from a side. I think he's got a bigger arm. I think he's got a more natural stride. He's got more natural shape up high. He's square when he turns and leaves us. He's better on his front two than the one that's going to come in second. When it comes in second, he does have more shape up high. He's great looking from the side. He gets a little flatter there on his front two for me. He wants to toe in ever so slightly, but a hog that's got a great big upper hip, one that's got a great hind leg in him, maybe not just as big where his foot meets the ground or meets the surface right there as compared to the one that wins the class. Two very good hogs to go ahead and be first and second in this particular class. The hog that comes out in three is, guys, I still think this hog's got a bright future. One that's still awfully skinny, kind of reminds me of myself as she runs across the ring there, real athletic and skinny. Like I said, one that reminds me a lot of myself when she runs across the ring, real athletic and skinny. And if y'all wonder why I keep looking up at that screen, they told me if I'd wear dark colors, it'd make me look skinny. They lied. But that's a very nice hog that young lady drives, a tall-shouldered one that's comfortable on both ends of her skeleton. Give that one some more time on feet. It's giving us a fit here, but that thing's long and level-hipped and takes a very comfortable stride. Young lady does a dynamite job. So we round out the class, just some hogs that get frailer in their bone work, not as much feature, not as much shape or as much look. Really good set of hamsters. If you would, put your hands together for these exhibitors here in our
Please bring your first and second place Hampshires to the wash rack. Your first and second place Hampshires to the wash rack.
Maybe if I just stand over here in front of the portico where it's cool, it'll just work. So, guys, we get into a little deeper water here and we stamp into this Hampshire class. And, yes, as weights gets bigger in the Hampshires and crossbreds, you certainly think that, as these hogs get more pounds on them and they stay together, we'll see some very, very good ones. But more importantly, we've got three very, very capable showmen out here driving these animals. I got to the airport there late last night and got off the plane. And went to Enterprise Rental Car to pick up my car, and they said that I was the highest ranking member that belonged to Enterprise, that point system, or whatever they call it, Emerald or whatever. And so they had me a free upgrade, and they put me in a little red Audi SUV sports car that drives itself. And these hogs look like they're driving themselves because these ladies are so natural at it. So you folks that are keeping up with the showmanship stuff, make sure that all three of these are on your list because they do an absolutely phenomenal job. And I think we as judges, sometimes we forget to mention that. And guys, they've got to be driven to get to this level. So they're all three very capably driven. There is one out here that is a man among boys in this particular class. I'm pretty sure that Helen Keller could find this one. That's the young lady in the gray and orange shirt over there. Guys, if you don't like that one, then you and I probably shouldn't talk about show pigs together because that thing's very, very good. We'll talk more about him later. The study was more second and third for me. The bear that comes in two is one that, he every now and then he wants to take a very awkward step, and I couldn't tell if maybe he wanted to favor that leg or if it belonged to him or if it's just the speed that the young lady drives him at, because the front 2/3 of this one are very, very good, and that's the young lady there in the black jacket. She's driving your one that's in two. That bear is so much more robust in his arm and his shape to his arm and his foot size and his bone size. He's so much more robust in his cage and the turn to the top of his cage than the bear that's going to come in three. Stouter skulled, he's just denser made than the bear that comes in three. Guys, I'm a sucker for pretty ones, and that bear is pretty that's going to be in three. I'll be perfectly honest with you, that bear didn't have enough muscle to make a ham sandwich today, but he's very good looking from the side. He's put together good. If we get that one on the right feed, that one could do big, big things down the road. Bear that comes in four, is another one. I'll be honest with you, the longer the drive we're on, the better this one got. When he comes in, he needs to relax his rear pastern. He needs to push and pull better across the ring. The longer he goes, the more athletic he gets, which is kind of an unusual combination. That thing's tall fronted. He's big, fresh back. If he would relax his pastern, I think he would stay more inside his skeletal wall. He's a little shorter in his upper hip. Gets a little piecier there in this ham-loin junction. I love that one from the side and just his cage and the shape that he's got up high. His freshness and skin and hair. Young man does a dynamite job of presenting one that's just monster-chested when he comes at us and has lots and lots of shape. Told this young lady if she would take her hand off that bear's hip, he wouldn't duck his tail quite so much. And that bear wants to get his legs up under him and duck his tail and run. That thing is tall-fronted. He's robust. Guys, he's too much from behind for me. He gets too far outside of himself. I'd like to make that bear a notch longer. Cannon, clean that bear up in his rear flank, fix that bear on his front pastern, because that one is extra hairy. He's extra stout up high. Young lady's very capable. Make sure she's on your showmanship list as well. Does a dynamite job of showing. So we round out the class with some hogs that just are greener in their muscle makeup, that are frailer made, that have got to be put together better. Ask you if you would, put your hands together for these kiddos here in our Hampshire class.
First place went to Brooklyn Evans, Cottonwood 4-H. Second went to Ashton Tarvin, Loving FFA. Third went to Presley Gaines, Cottonwood 4-H. Fourth went to J.D. King, Loving FFA. Fifth went to Grayson Kirkendall, Cottonwood 4-H. Sixth went to Ryan Davis, Loving 4-H. Seventh went to Morgan Townsend, Artesia FFA. And eighth went to Sawyer of Blue Jeans and Boots. We need your Class 1 crosses to the wash rack. Class 1 crosses to the wash rack.
Get our class winners back out in our Hampshire division. I'm very satisfied with what they look like. And like we said in the red ones, you know, I'm not going to cookie cutter them, just find the best ones and go with it. My rule when I'm judging is real simple. I use the KISS rule because I'm not very smart. Keep it simple, stupid. Just find the ones you like, latch a hold of them, and go. Guys, I'll be honest with you, the one that wins absolutely puts the French fries in my Happy Meal. At heavyweights, your champion. Drop that one that was second in like we talked him in class. You got to love the added feature that thing's got just in terms of forearm shape and blade shape. The shape of that one's top up high, you know, is very, very good. You know, is he the soundest one out here? Absolutely not. There's another one out here that I think is our pair of them I think are very, very good. Talk those just for a second. The lightweight's a hog that we like. Now, we're not there yet. Keep driving. Lightweight's a hog that we like a lot just in terms of added shag and density to his arm and blade shape. You know, is that hog just long enough hip and how he goes from behind? That's the questions you have to ask yourself. The middleweight was one that's put together extremely good, balances up, has great proportions to him. You know, one that's not as big-footed. He's not as heavy structured. You know, is he frail? I'm not going to call him frail. I think he's borderline having enough. He's extremely good looking. Always wanted to take the pretty girls to the prom. Young ladies, middleweight's going to be second.
Your champion Hampshire went to Brooklyn Evans out of Class 3, and your reserve Hampshire went to Ryland England out of Class 2. Please bring your Class 1 crosses to the show ring. Class 1 crosses to the show ring. Class 2 crosses to the wash rack. Class 2 crosses to the wash rack.
Nice set of crossbreeds as we get here into our crossbred. The young man here in the orange shirt is going to have your class winner. And guys, I'm not going to tell you that's the EST hog. He's not the heaviest structured. He's not the hairiest. He's not the densest. He's not the most, the heaviest muscled one. That hog is complete. He's sound. He proportions up very, very good. He is the soundest one out here. So you can put that ES to him very easy because that one's poetry in motion just in terms the way he looks from the side. He's he's got show bearer proportions as far as his length to height ratio. I love that one shaped to his noggin. He drives at us with a square chest, and he's opened up enough. I think just a very logical place to start. If you judge him without putting him in motion, the one that comes in two can win. When you ask this one to go, he just can't do it. That thing has a ginormous forearm. He's got Chewbacca rear legs. He's hairy. He's dense. He's big caged. He's big pinned. He's just got to be sounder off both ends of his skeleton. That's the young lady there in the blue striped shirt. She's going to be 2 in this particular class. Relax that one's knee and forearm. Give that one another gear, and he can certainly move up. Young lady in 3 has worked her way up with just a hog that's just kind of a meat and potatoes type of hog, one that's just no frills to it. She needs a big drink of water to drop her rear flank, needs to have some more, just needs to be fleshier today, some more days on feed. I think that one gets very, very good. I hate that this blue gilt comes in 4 because another one, if you can just stand them still like the one that's going to be in 2, this one can win. Guys, she's got to relax her rear pasture, and she's got to put more weight. She's too timid on her rear left. When she tries to go, she's got to be sounder. She wants to toe out up front. That is a big back, fresh one that's very well presented. Young lady's got that one, fits to the 9s, does an absolutely phenomenal job on the stick. The young man that comes out next with one that's just a little plainer to look at. I told the young man this one's just a little frailer about his front ankle. He's a little plainer to look at up through his front end. He just, when you step in behind him, he needs more kick down low for me. The blue-eyed bear that comes next, another one just needs to be sounder off of his rear too. Clean that one up in his flank. Told the young lady coming out with the chrome bear that comes out next, this one gets too wide and too flat up front for me, and then it's just he's got a swollen hock. We'll round out the class with some hogs just need more days on feed, need to be heavier structured, heavier muscle to move up in this particular class. Ask if you would, put your hands together for our kiddos here in our class of crossbreds.
First place went to Owen Golden, Cottonwood 4-H. Second place went to Kaylee King, Loving FFA. Third went to Chanley Hernandez, Loving 4-H. Fourth went to Dagan Kirkendall, Cottonwood 4-H. Fifth went to Albert Calderon, Loving 4-H. Sixth went to Chloe Clark, Carlsbad FFA. Seventh went to Marianne Couch, Cottonwood 4-H. Eighth went to Jalen Caldwell, Loving 4-H. And ninth went to Jaden Caldwell, Loving 4-H. Please bring your class 3 crosses to the wash rack, class 3 crosses to the wash rack.
Real good class of crossbreds here as we continue in our crossbred division. And I know the young lady over there with the black one, she's getting coached from the side, and they keep telling her to go in big circles. I walked over and told her if she'd just look at them and say, hey, I got this. I asked her, was she having fun? And she said she was, and I'll be honest, if I was driving one look like that, I'd be having fun too. That's a real good bear, young lady. You're going to be our class winner. Like that one quite a bit. Folks, that's what it's all about. If you don't get excited for these kiddos, then you're here for the wrong reason. That's a very, very good market bear that young lady's driving there. One that's so complete. He balances up so good from the side. His height, the length ratio you like. When you step in behind that one, he's the squarest and truest at the ground. You love that one's foot size and bone size. He's the epitome of balance and build. A very, very good bear to start this particular class. I guess if I had this one, it's going to be in 2. And guys, it's show pigs. We all fight it. We all fight it day and night. And guys, you get to a show, you never know what's going to happen. They can have a reaction to shavings. It can be mites. I don't know what's going on with his skin. But that's a very, very good hog, and I'm not going to beat him because of it. Young man here is going to be 2. That one needs a suntan. He needs to freshen up. I'll be the first to admit it. You get that one cleaned up, guys, that one can go for a long, long time because that is a very good animal to come in second in this particular class. That's a tall-shouldered one that's good-looking. He's got bone for days. He's got a big foot. Guys, there's a difference in being a big-legged one and when you still balance up and can push and pull off both ends of your skeleton. That one proportions up very, very good. He's short back, if you want to call him that. He's extended up front. He's better between his ears, about his crest and his cheek and his throat latch than the bear that's going to be in 3. The bear that's going to be in 3 is rugged in his skeleton. He's tall-shouldered. He's good-looking. He's not as coordinated on his rear, too, as the 2 that place above him. However, he is bigger in his arm. He's bigger in his blade. He's stout in his noggin. He's got a great big foot. He's big-chested. He's big back. He struggles to go off both ends of his skeleton. That's where we got to clean that one up and change him. I guess when push comes to shove, I'm a structure fanatic, and that's why the bear with his skin issue beats that one. The one that comes in 3 is one that's just a notch narrower when he drives right at us. When you step in behind him, he gets too wide. He's a notch flatter hip there, if you will, a notch flatter about his muscle pattern. Great big-legged one comes in 4. One that's just too uncoordinated off both ends of his skeleton. Want to clean that one up there in his rear flank, fix that one the way he uses his hock. The blue bear that comes out next had a little bit of water in his ear when he came in. Just a plainer type of hog, not as much muscle, not as much look. Young man flat gets him shown, got him dialed in, presented to the 9s. As we round out the class with some hogs that are just greener in their muscle makeup, need to be fixed, need to be heavier structured, need to be fixed on both ends of their skeleton. Ask you if you would, put your hands together for our kiddos here. Our class of crosses, a very, very good class 2.
Class 3 crosses to the show ring. Class 3 crosses to the show ring. First place went to Chanley Hernandez, Loving 4-H. Second went to Mason Golden, Artesia FFA. Third went to Cheyenne Quintanilla, Loving 4-H. Fourth went to Jacelyn Lopez, Zia Sharpshooters. Fifth went to Cheyenne Quintanilla, Loving 4-H, tag 71995. Sixth went to Jason Hunt, Loving 4-H. Seventh went to Leo Lopez, Country Clovers 4-H. Eighth went to Danny McIntyre, Loving 4-H. Ninth went to Jaden Caldwell, Loving 4-H. And 10th went to Jalen Caldwell, Loving 4-H. Class 4 crosses to the wash rack. Class 4 crosses to the wash rack.
interesting class of crossbreds, and maybe one that's not just as easy to put together because there's so many different types and kinds, and yet there's so many parts and pieces out here. The one I just keep coming back to, guys, I'll be the first one to tell you that I absolutely hate his head. I wish he was stouter jawed. I wish he was stouter muzzled. I wish he was a little shorter faced. From there back, he's the best one. That's the young lady here in front of me. That thing is the one that's the best looking from the side. He's the shortest back. He's the biggest cage. He is the absolute best one going away in terms of pin width, in terms of squareness of hock, when it's got cushion to his pastern and it can flex. And when that young lady catches a gear and makes that one go, he's tall fronted, he's good looking from the side. He grabs a gear and goes better than the rest, and he stays more coordinated off both ends of his skeleton than the other trio that's left out here as contemporaries. He needs to be heavier structured as far as just density to his forearm and his front foot, but his pastern quality is good, his toe quality is good. I think just a very logical place to go ahead and start in this particular class. The young man here with a solid black one is going to come in too, and another gilt. Guys, I like a lot of things about that one. She needs to have more physical feel today. That one, you take her to the back and you fill her up and give her a big drink of water and freshen her up. I don't know what she doesn't push that class winner just a little bit harder. She's cut out the same mold as the bear that wins the last class the young lady had. This is cut from the same mold as that one. She's heavier structured than the bear that wins the class. She's stouter skulled. She just doesn't balance up, or his proportion up is good from the side is what that bear does. A big hip, one that's got a great big tail root that's good looking from the side. Like a lot of things about that one. Like I say, give her a notch more physical feel her rear flank, and I certainly think you can move that one up just a spot or two. 3 and 4 is give and take for me. I like the young lady's chromed up hog to go ahead and be in 3. He's too timid on his rear 2 for me today. From his hip forward, he's the best one in this class, and I've had him all over the board because he is so good there. He's got a big blade. He's got a big dense forearm. He's got a big rear leg. He's too timid in his rear step, especially there about his rear left. He needs to have more cushion and more flex to his pastern and just get out and push and pull with more movement across the ring today. The target butted hog, when he comes in the ring, he just demands your attention just in terms of chest width and natural width through his center cavity, through his body. He gets too flat up front. He's too uncoordinated there on his rear too, just kind of throws him outside of his skeletal wall. He's not as naturally tall fronted as those bears that win the class. He's not as big in his front foot. Young man has that one dialed in terms of presentation though, does a dynamite job of showing him. Y'all make sure he's on your showmanship list. He does a real good job. Young lady that comes out next with a gilt she has trouble with just catching a gear and going. This gilt's probably a rib longer body than her contemporaries that were out here. She's not just as manly as those that place above her. Got a little swelling there in her lymph nodes there when you rear flank. One that's a little plainer, more nondescript down her top side, just not as robust in her cage. The heaviest muscle one comes out next. This thing has a ditch that you could noodle a catfish out of. We go hand fishing there in East Texas, and we reach up there in those boxes or in those rocks and grab those big catfish out by our hand, and his back will hold enough water that you could do that. Guys, this thing's too man-made for me. He's too concave. When he drives at us through his chest, he's too restricted there in his knee joint and his chest floor. When you step in behind him, he's too wide from behind. That is a big, big, fresh back. That thing is elegant from the side. He's just got to be more manly coming at you for me today, and then fix him when he turns and goes away from you. Love that one's hair and skin texture. The way they've got that one presented to the nines is absolutely impeccable. Just got to change him off both ends of his skeleton. Young lady that comes out next with a heavy structure one that just gets too wide off both ends for me, is we'll round out the class with some hogs that are just greener in their muscle makeup, need to be sounder off both ends of their skeleton. Ask you if you would, put your hands together for our kiddos here in class 3 of the crosses.
First place went to Jaylee England, Artesia FFA. Second went to Jason Hunt, Loving 4-H. Third went to Addison Tarvin, Loving FFA. Fourth went to JT King, Country Clovers 4-H. Fifth went to Riley England, Cottonwood 4-H. Sixth went to Brooklyn Ivins, Cottonwood 4-H. Seventh went to Hamiley Hernandez, Loving 4-H. Eighth went to Garrett Wages, Loving 4-H. And ninth went to Morgan Townsend, Artesia FFA. please bring your Class 5 crosses to the wash rack. Class 5 crosses to the wash rack.
I've had my mind made up for a little bit. I was just listening to that young lady sing the national anthem over there at the rodeo arena. I thought she was doing a phenomenal job. And guys, I still think we live in the absolute greatest country in the entire world. So I was kind of enjoying that. Guys, these three are as good as Grandma's chocolate pie at Thanksgiving. The problem with Grandma's chocolate pie at Thanksgiving is some people don't like chocolate pie. I won't ever forget just a couple of years ago, before my father-in-law passed away, my wife had made a chocolate pie and a coconut pie, and she took him coconut pie because she thought that's what he would like. And we got up there to the nursing home to see my father-in-law, and he said, chocolate would have been better. And my wife's feelings were hurt, and she got upset, and we went home and brought him back some chocolate because that day he decided he liked chocolate pie. And, so guys, we look out here and there's coconut pie and there's chocolate pie, and we're not all going to agree with the way that we're going to place this class. I can absolutely promise you that. I'm going to do my best to describe the three individuals, and then I'll tell you the way that we're going to place them. So in absolutely no particular order, the young lady there in the middle in the bluish green shirt has got one that's absolutely just monstrous when he drives right at us. That's a big Legacy. He's the smallest in his type and kind out here, but that's a big back and a big upper hip. Maybe he gets just a little chuffy there about his cheek and his throat latch and even the crest of his neck, but that's a big fresh back with one that is wide but is still square and can pick him up and put him down in the same spot every time. The young lady over there in the orange shirt, that one can go and go, and maybe he looks a little more mature about his head today than what we think is absolutely perfect. Guys, when you get up on top of that one will scare you with the amount of shape that he's got. And I keep asking myself, does he have just enough feature in terms of foot and bone to go with that added stoutness of his skull, to go with that mass that he's got up high? Guys, when hogs are naturally big in their rib cage and they've got that kind of turn to their upper cage, they'll roll up easy like that. That's not just sugar water. That's natural muscle and natural shape with a hog that's very wide, but yet he's still flexible in his skeleton. Like I say, does he have enough bone? Does he have a big enough foot to go with that mass that he's got up high? Is his ankle quite big enough? Then that leaves us the black off-belted hog in the center of the ring. Obviously, he doesn't have the power in terms of just shape and dimension, those two hogs that we've already talked about. But guys, what this one does have is an absolutely impeccable skeleton, one that's tall-fronted. He's good-looking from the side. He's got the added feature. He's as big and bold in his blade and his forearm as either one of the other bears out here. He's got a great skull. He is absolutely stunning from the side just in terms of elevation and look. And then when you do get up on him, that top is big. It's fresh. It's massive. He's square-hocked. He's square-pinned. Maybe he doesn't have the added muscle shape today, but one that's dense in his arm and just absolutely is elegant from the side that proportions up very, very good. That's the way I see him. You take them the way you like them. Guys, I got to run to the pretty one. Young man, you're driving our class winner. Young lady, you're going to be second. Young lady, you'll be third today in a very, very good class of crossbreds. The blue bear that comes out next, one is extremely big-centered. This guy gets too flat on his front feet. He's too sissy about his front foot and his ankle there because that's a very good bear that's big cage. He follows the ones in 2 and 3. He's elegant from the side. He's too flat pastured on all 4 for me. The one that comes out next just gets too restricted off both ends of his skeleton there. Needs a big drink of water just to drop that rear flank. He's too upright in his rear too to move up any higher in a particularly good class. As we round out the class, just some hogs that need to be sounder off both ends of the skeleton. Kiddos do a phenomenal job of showing them. Ask you if you will, put your hands together for all those kiddos. Excellent class of crossbreds.
First place went to Stetson Quintanilla, Loving 4-H. Second went to Brooklyn Ivins, Cottonwood 4-H. Third went to Jules Cortese, Artesia FFA. Fourth went to Swayze Fulmar, Artesia FFA. Fifth went to Ashton Tarvin, Loving FFA. Sixth went to JT King, Country Clovers 4-H. Seventh went to Hamiley Hernandez, Loving 4-H. And eighth went to Trevor Pope, Country Clovers 4-H. Please bring your Class 5 crosses to the show ring. Class 5 crosses to the show ring. Please bring your first and second place crosses to the wash rack. Your first and second place crosses to the wash rack.
Good pair on the top end of this class. I like the young lady's gilt to go ahead and win this particular class. One that's just crisper in her edges, especially at this weight. Maybe she's not as big a footed, but she's better looking from the side. She's more comfortable in her skeleton out here for me today. She's got the right kind of shape and the right kind of power, very square when you step in behind that. When the young man's bear just is not comfortable out here, I don't know if he's got something going on or what's happening there. Just on kind of throws his rear leg kind of awkward and outside of his body cavity, but a good looking one from the side. And like I say, not real sure what's going on, just can't get comfortable out here enough to move up today. The young lady that comes out next, one is too flat-footed up front, one is to be too concave right at his knee joint, but a flat hip one that's got some shape, that's got some look from the side, just needs more kick when you step in behind that one, make that one a notch bigger footed as well. Other end of the spectrum, one that comes next that's extremely wide off both ends of his skeleton, one that's rolled up high, maybe one that's too mature in its head and his neck today, one that's got some shape and some power. I love that look when he turns and goes just away from you there, if you will. The black one that comes out next, the young lady does a nice job of driving this barrel. He gets too wide when you step in behind him. He's frailer about his front ankle. He's a little shorter and rounder there out of his hip to move up compared to his contemporaries today. The skunk face one that comes next is one that's just too upright on both ends of his skeleton, too timid when he drives off both ends there. Good looking from the side, elevated. Young lady's got him dialed in terms of presentation, skin and hair. Clean that one up in his throat latch ever so slightly as well. We'll come out next with one that's just a little plainer to look at, one that's just too narrow when you step in underneath him, and it's too lazy there in his spine there for me today. So we round out the class just with some hogs that are not as far along in their muscle shape or pattern, need to be sounder off both ends of their skeleton. Ask you if you would, put your hands together here for our kiddos in our last class of crossbreds.
First place went to Kaylee King, Loving FFA. Second went to Stetson Quintanilla, Loving 4-H. Third went to Jaylee England, Artesia FFA. Fourth went to Swayze Fulmar, Artesia FFA. Fifth went to Addison Fulmar, Artesia FFA. Sixth went to Addison Tarvin, Loving FFA. Seventh went to Ariana Carrasco, Loving FFA. Eighth went to Garrett Wages, Loving 4-H. Ninth went to Jaden Caldwell, Loving 4-H. And 10th went to Jalen Caldwell, Loving 4-H. We need all your first place crosses to the show ring, first place crosses to the show ring, second place crosses in the wash rack, second place crosses in the wash rack. Please bring your second place crosses to the alley. Your second place crosses to the alley.
I'll ask those of you around ringside, if you would, put your hands together for our kiddos out here in our crossbred drive. I think we've got 5 very good animals, but more importantly, 5 very, very talented young people out here driving these things. And guys, I think our crossbred show has been deep. I know there's some differences in type and kind, and the one thing about a hog show that 9 times out of 10, we probably all have to agree to disagree, because there's only going to be one person here today that thinks I was worth a flip, and I'm okay with that. Everybody else will think I'm the dumbest guy that's ever picked up a microphone, and I'm perfectly fine with that too. I just call them like I see them. I like the ones I like, and there's one out here that gets in my wheelhouse. Young man right there with the black one to be your champion. We bring that one, and it was second in that class. And guys, that was absolutely the deepest class that we've seen today. Like I said, some people like chocolate pie, some like coconut. He's still the second best one. He'll be your reserve champion.
Your champion cross went to Stetson Quintanilla out of Class 4. And your reserve cross went to Brooklyn Ivins, also out of Class 4. Please bring your grand and reserve.
No, bring all your champion.
Champion and reserve, right? Please bring all your champion breeds and reserve champion breeds to the wash rack. All your champion breeds and reserve breeds to the wash rack. 5-minute break. If you lost a phone, it is at the table. Thank you. In what they showed, you're going to do reserve.
Come in and be pinned.
Okay. Your black OPB reserve went to Kaylee King. Your reserve white OPB went to Mason Golden. Your reserve Duroc went to Stetson Quintanilla. Your reserve Hampshire went to Riley England. And your reserve cross went to Brooklyn Ivins.
Yep, good job. Yeah, sure, let me know. But you don't have a baby picture or
I'll get it.
Hey, Leslie, is Rosalia here?
Rosalia,
Rosalia.
Rubio.
Because she has this in her senior stuff.
I just got right.
Like, if you see her,
You ready to call the champions in?
I just go through it.
Oh. Your champion OPB went to Ashton Tarvin. Your champion white OPB went to Kaylee King. Your champion Duroc went to Mason Golden. Your champion Hampshire went to Brooklyn Evans. Evans. And your champion cross went to Stetson Quintanilla.
You kiddos, if you would, just park those things for just a second, and I'm not going to be too long-winded. First and foremost, thank you to Eddy County for allowing me to come back and sort through your show. Guys around ringside, if you would, put your hands together for our ring help today that's pinned hogs all day long, did a phenomenal job. And if you think that's an easy job, then volunteer next year and get out here and do it, because it's not near as easy as it looks. And they did a tremendous job all day long. And then the folks in the back that are sorting the hogs and to send them to the ring and getting them here in a timely manner, we certainly appreciate them as well. So I ask if you would put your hands together for your livestock committee and the folks that put on this show to have a place for your kiddos to come and exhibit their projects at. And that's very, very important. And guys, if we don't thank them, then we'll lose our volunteers and we won't be able to do the thing that means the most to us. So I've said oftentimes that I think this is the second best place that you can raise your young people, and that confuses a lot of folks, because honestly, guys, I think first and foremost the best place is at church. I was a drug addict growing up. I was drugged to church every time the doors were open, and that's what we did as a family. It wasn't until we moved to East Texas that we got involved in ag and FFA and 4-H and showing animals and things of that nature. So I think you ought to do that, and ultimately it's all that matters in the end. Is your relationship with Jesus Christ. That's all that's going to matter when all this is said and done. So back about 4 months ago, I was laying in a hotel room, and I was traveling for work that week, and I was in Fort Smith, Arkansas on a Wednesday night. And about 7:45, I had taken a melatonin just to be able to sleep, because I don't sleep very well when I'm traveling, and it wasn't, but about 10 minutes later, I heard my phone go off, and it was a text message. And my sister texted, and I started not even to look at it, because I was already dozing in and out, and something just told me to grab my phone and to look at it that was laying there next to my bed, and it was a text message from my sister to my brother and I. I have a twin brother. We were womb mates for 9 months. Some of y'all will catch that after a while. It was a text message to us that said my dad was not feeling well, having some chest pains, and they were going to take him by ambulance to the hospital. They had called an ambulance, and I texted my sister back and said, hey, I just took a melatonin. If you don't mind, if something happens, just call me, because I will not hear my phone go off once I go to sleep unless it's ringing. At 10 minutes to 1 or 12:50 that next morning, my phone rang, and I sat straight up in the bed. And my sister called to tell me that my dad had coded in the ER. And I gathered my stuff up very quickly. And a 7-hour trip home took me about 4.5 hours. And I got in my truck in Fort Smith, Arkansas, and all I knew to pray was, God, don't let my daddy die till I get there if you're going to take him. And I got there, and I walked in the ICU, and they had my dad on a vent. And I could tell that things didn't look very good. And the doctor came in and visited with us and gave us a bunch of hope. And I just didn't want to listen to what he said, because it just didn't look very promising to me. And at midnight on Thursday night, with very little sleep, my sister called again, and she said, hey, the hospital just called, and Dad's taking a turn for worse. We just gotten home about 10 that night. Dad's taking a turn for worse, and they want to know if we want to come back over there. And so we went, and about 3:15 that morning, I walked into the ICU room. I looked my hero dead in the eyes. He was laying there on a vent. And I told my daddy if he needed to go on home, that we'd take care of Mama and to go ahead. Our pastor was there with us, and we came in and gathered around Dad's bedside about 3:20, and we prayed. And I just said, God, if you're going to call him home, please do so quickly. I don't want to see my daddy suffer. We left and we drove home. It's about 25 miles. I got into bed at 4 o'clock, and at 4:07 the phone rang, and it was our pastor, and my daddy had passed away. Completely unexpected. And I say all that to say this, guys, you don't know what tomorrow holds. You kiddos that are out here in the ring, this may be your only time that you've ever been in a champion drive somewhere. Make sure you thank the people that got you here. My dad and my mom were the biggest influences in my life. If it hadn't have been for them, I'd have never got involved in ag, and now it's what I do for a living, working for Butterball. Guys, we traveled up and down the road to lots of shows. For us in Texas, buying season's about to start or has started, which is absolutely insane to think about. It's not very many years ago. If we bought a hog before Labor Day, we thought we'd bumped our head, and now folks have got a whole set on feed already, and it just, this deal is absolutely insane what it costs to play this game. So you kiddos that are out here, make sure you thank mama, daddy, grandma, grandpa, aunt, uncle, brother, sister, county agent, ag teacher, cousin, whoever it was that got you to this point. You make sure you tell them thank you, because I promise you it's no easy feat. I bought a lot of show pigs over the years, and I've never bought one I didn't like. But a lot of them are not very good when they get to market weight. So they don't all turn out, and that's one thing that we can say. But I promise you, the animals may not turn out, but the kiddos that we're kicking out of this program, they turn out each and every time, every one of them. Guys, if you're as proud of these kiddos are as I am, I want you to stand up off your feet. I want you to hoot, holler, make some noise. You guys fire them back up. We'll walk out and get you a champion. I thought that hamster was a very, very good animal, one that's hard to put together. And I hear guys all the time say, well, this one's hard to make or that one's hard to make. Guys, when you get them to market weight, they're all hard to make. I won't ever forget, my nephew was probably 4 or 5 years old, and I see a guy around ringside that actually was there this day and made this comment. Dallas was driving his invisible pig at the San Antonio Livestock Show, and he drove him for about 3.5 hours that day. And Jason Foote walked over to me and said, "It's the soundest hog I've ever seen in my life." He drove him 3.5 hours, and he never quit. Dallas is now 12, and he's been fortunate to have some breed champions and stuff and win at some big shows. He's started putting our set on feed. He sent me a text message just a few minutes ago before the show started, and we bought a bear on Monday, and he's already got him whip broke, and he was proud of it and telling me how excited he was about his set. And guys, I get up in the morning, and I eat, breathe, and sleep show pigs, and that's what it's all about, and he's lots of fun to have around the house. My little granddaughter turned 2 years old last week. We were at the beach. This time last week on Wednesday, I was laid up on the beach in Alabama, just being a bum, if you will, and get to do that about once a year. And I spent all week just following my little granddaughter around, because that's what I wanted to do. And she loves going to the pig barn, so I hope that she'll want to show pigs one day, because she's just 2, and if she does, then we're going to run up and down the road and show pigs. Guys, one more time, it's been absolutely phenomenal. The show has been great. Stand up, hoop, holler, make some noise. We'll grab your reserve champion.
Your grand champion swine went to Brooklyn Ivins with her Hampshire, and your reserve champion swine went to Stetson Quintanilla with his cross. Please let's give our judge one more big round of applause for coming out to Eddy County and judging our pig show.